Hello, guys. Can you hear me? How am I coming in? All right. Well, let's give it a couple minutes. So welcome those who are joining. We're just giving it a couple minutes for stragglers before we get started. If anybody has any topics or questions or anything that they'd like to bring up for today, you can put that in the chat. Yeah, the questions can be anything related to Buddhism, meditation, monks, anything within that sphere pretty much. I'm thinking about doing a little chanting as well as part of our Dhammapalooza. So I'm just looking through. I don't know if it looks backwards. To me, it's looked like it's backwards. It's the new Bhavana Vandana, but in the fox fake leather small version. So I think we'll do some chanting. All right. Okay. I think the Sixth Sense Salayatana is actually pretty good. I think that's a good topic to start out. But before we get into before we get into that, we can I can answer Johnny's question. All right. So when you renounce, you have to give up everything. What do you do with whatever money you have? Do you have to give it all away, or can you keep it in case you stop being a monk? That's an interesting question, and there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different views regarding that. What I will say is most places that I know of, at the very least, they don't encourage you to start giving stuff away until you're about to become a samanera. And that usually means that you've been living at the monastery for about a year. I know Ajahn Brahm's crew actually is probably the most the most forgiving in this, and they say basically don't sell all your possessions until you've been a monk for at least 5 years. I know that's their kind of policy. This is a tough one because what I would say is, if you go into the monkhood, kind of, I mean, it's a tough one. It really is, because it makes practical sense that you would have something in case it doesn't work out, because most people who become monks don't stay monks forever. So it makes practical sense. But on the other hand, kind of going into it knowing you kind of have, well, if I don't, there's something, it's almost like, not like you're setting yourself up for failure, but you have to kind of take a leap of faith in a way. I mean, you have to, you kind of have to know that, yeah, this is a risk, right? I mean, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. And honestly, I do feel like the term leap of faith is very accurate when talking about becoming a monk, because you don't know you're going to be a monk. You don't know you're going to make it, first of all, because sometimes, it can take up to 2 years. And during those 2 years, the people are making, kind of making judgment calls on you to see if they want to ordain you. And you're kind of making judgment calls on them, is like, do I want to ordain under these people, or do I even want to ordain at all? Right. So a lot of people come to the monastery. This is like the first time I met Bhante G, the first time I had an interview with Bhante G, and I talked to him about being a monk, and he's like, well, a lot of people come here all the time and they say they want to be a monk, but then they don't make it. Like 6 months later, after they come, they're leaving. And, he gave me a little bit of a discouraging act, for about 20 minutes. But, so it's a tough thing. If you kind of go in it with like one foot still kind of left in the lay life, I don't know. It kind of, I would say if you really want to become a monk, you really have to go all out. I mean, you really have to know that, okay, I know that my life is not going to be the same if I don't become a monk and I have to go back to being a lay person. It's going to be tough. I'm going to have to start over in some ways and things like that. Now, that being said, I mean, monks are going to have, especially monks that are older, that have been around, have had a life, a career, whatever, you're going to have money. Like, for instance, like I worked for the state. So I had both a pension and I had I didn't work long enough to have a pension, but I, did 8 years of paying into pensions. I had a 401k, a deferred compensation, all of these things that I was doing. And obviously, when I became a monk, I had to figure out what the heck I'm doing with that stuff. So basically what I decided was that I wanted to kind of have a fund for my nephew, for him to use, like when he gets older, if he wants to like put a down payment on a house or something like that. So that it could go to some kind of a good use. Like, I mean, I had my car, I gave my car away to my last ex-girlfriend, who became she was a friend of mine too. She was a good person and who I'd known for years. And, so we parted amicably years ago, and she needed a car. So I was like, okay, here, take it. I mean, obviously I had to officially sell it to her. I think I put on the title, I put like $1. So I sold it for like $1, So you're going to, if you've been around a while and you have some kind of funds, yeah, you're going to have some kind of a backup. But it's really tough. Actually, I remember this is going back like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I remember Bhante Yuttadhammo watching a video and him answering the same kind of a question. And, I think his answer, now being a monk for a couple of years now, I realized his answer is basically what my answer that I gave to you. It's like, you don't kind of want to go in you don't want to give yourself a lot of excuses to leave, right? Like, I mean, it's like, you get married and it's like it's very easy to just end it like that. Oh, well, we're going to be divorced. Like, you hear people get married and like they don't, like 5 months later they get divorced, right? So it's a tough one. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's all I got to say about that. The other thing is, for money wise, you can, so like this is something that I'm going to have to do now, like, when I leave Bhavana in next year, and I'm going to essentially be my own monk. One of the things that I haven't had to deal with is what's called a steward. And the way the monastic stuff is set up is obviously monks can't take money, they can't accept money, they can't handle money, but you can have somebody who is a steward. That somebody who wants to donate to you gives the money to this layperson who's your steward, and then you ask the stewards, like, okay, I need new shoes, I need new socks, or I need a new this or a new that, and then the steward can go get it for you, right? So that's going to be something like one of the things I did, the money that I have, from my pension and all that stuff, pension payments and stuff, is obviously just sitting there. Like, technically, the money is both in my name and my dad's name, because technically my dad's my steward. So, I mean, if you want to be technical, I do have money to my name, but I don't really have access to it in a way. So, and I've heard of that as well. Like, I know Bhante Rahula has a similar kind of thing. He has a steward, and that steward takes care of the financial stuff and gets, what Bhante Rahula needs. So that's something that I'm going to have, some testing on and seeing how that works, because before I just lived at Bhavana, and Bhavana took care of, Bhavana and people took care of what I needed. So it's going to be another leap of faith to go. It was a leap of faith for me to become a monk, and now it's a leap of faith for me to kind of leave the security of a place that, pretty much everything I need, like my vitamins that I take from my weight loss surgery, all these things that I need, and obviously, like, requisites and things like that. That is a, it's going to be a leap of faith, but it's an exciting leap of faith. So I've done it before. All right. So let's get to, I think that covers everything here. We can chant Kalyana Metta, but I also wanted to chant some other things as well. Let's see, Demi. So still having money makes it easier to leave. Well, I don't know. It's a tough question. There's no easy answer to that. Like, I mean, I went into it, knowing, okay, what do I do if the monk thing doesn't work out? And I knew what I want. Even if tomorrow I decide I'm not going to be a monk anymore, what I would do, the only thing I'd want to do as a layperson is be a photographer, start my photography business again, and start from scratch. So I kind of, even then, I mean, like, I have in my mind, I do have, well, if I ever become a layperson again, this is what I do. But I don't have any any plans of being a layperson again anytime soon. We'll see. So we can chant Karni Metta. All right, that's good. Let's see. Okay. So let's do some chanting, and then we'll get into Salayatana. Let's see. You like my new look? My reading glass look? Some of you, this might be the first time you're seeing me with reading glasses, so I can be like the old man. I didn't know that. Goatos. I didn't know there's a French monk that chants that takes pictures of the Dalai Lama. I haven't really done it since I became a monk. I have all my photography equipment, my camera and everything, but I've kind of gotten away from it. It can be kind of a distraction, and it can be something that I love and I'm attached to. So I try not to deal with it too much. But yeah, there's actually a monk on Facebook, like Monk with a Camera or something like that. He's some Zen monk I'm friends with on Facebook, and so I want to chant some things I haven't memorized, some interesting things other than the basic stuff here. And if it's something that I'm not used to, you can hear me botch the Pali. It's kind of fun. Even though I've chanted and studied Pali for a long time, there's still some Pali words that I'm not familiar with, or I haven't chanted enough that it's like, what? All right. Okay. I think we're going to chant Paticca Samuppada, which is, I don't know what page it is if you guys have the Bhavana Vandana, but this is so. I didn't know Mathieu Ricard was the photographer of the Dalai Lama. I've watched his TED Talks and things like that. Interesting. All right. So this is good. This is this is how I memorized this is how I memorized it in Pali, the 12 links. So the first one is Anuloma. So it's avidya paccaya sankara sankarya paccaya vinyanang paccaya nama rupang paccaya salayatana paccaya passo passa paccaya vedana paccaya tanha paccaya upadana paccaya bhava paccaya jati paccaya jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domanasupayasa sambhavanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha kandassa samudayo hoti. So, oh, Katrina, it's good to see you. Hope everything's going well over there at Peachtree. Wasn't expecting you to be on here. All right. Hey, Katrina. So now let's do the English for this. Dependent on ignorance, volitional formations arise. Ignorance, avidya. Dependent on volitional formations, so sankhara. Otherwise, you've seen it translated now more recently as intention or kama, right? Or choices. I think Bhante Sujato translates it as choices. So dependent on volitional formations, consciousness arises. Dependent on consciousness, mentality and materiality arise. Old translation for that was Namarupa was name and form. So dependent on mentality and materiality, the sixfold bases arise, the six senses. Dependent on the sixfold base, contact arises. Dependent on contact, feeling arises. Dependent on feeling, craving arises. Dependent on craving, clinging arises. Dependent on clinging, becoming arises, or re-existence, or existence. That's that word bhava. Becoming, existing. Dependent on becoming, birth arises. And we know what comes when you're born again, right? Aging and death arise, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus there is the arising of this whole mass of suffering. Right? So that's dependent origination. That's what we hear often. This is what is taught often. What is not taught often, and what we don't hear enough, is the positive, hopeful side of dependent origination. We hear like the Buddha's teachings are really the Buddha's teachings are depressing and nihilistic and all these kind of things. But no, see, there's many places where you can see. So, patiloma, the cessation of the wheel of existence. Avidya tveva esesa viraga niroda sankara nirodo sankara niroda vinyana nirodo vinyana niroda nama rupa nirodo nama rupa niroda salayatana nirodo salayatana niroda passa nirodo Passa nirodha vedana nirodho vedana nirodha tanha nirodho tanha nirodha upadana nirodho upadana nirodha bhava nirodho bhava nirodha jati nirodho Jati nirodha jara maranang soka parideva dukkha domana supayassa nirujjanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha kandassa nirodho hoti. So, through the entire cessation of ignorance, volitional formations cease. Through the cessation of volitional formations, consciousness ceases. Through the cessation of consciousness, mentality and materiality cease. Through the cessation of mentality and materiality, the sixfold base ceases. Through the cessation of the sixfold base, contact ceases. Through the cessation of contact, feeling ceases. Through the cessation of feeling, craving ceases. Through the cessation of craving, clinging ceases. Through the cessation of clinging, becoming ceases. When you let go, no more existence, no more becoming. Let's say what I always say, the beginning of the Buddha's path is letting go, the middle of the Buddha's path is letting go, and the end of the Buddha's path is letting go. Good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Through the cessation of clinging, becoming ceases. Through the cessation of becoming, birth ceases. Through the cessation of birth, aging and death cease, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Thus there is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. I always find that very, very very hopeful, very inspiring. Yes, there is the cessation of this whole mass of dukkha. It's good stuff. And we see here, we can go talking about salayatana is a good topic. Now, speaking of the cessation, now we can, this is very famous, this one, right? This is actually one of the first ones that I memorized. Although, to be honest with you, it's been a while since I chanted it, so I don't botch it. I'm just going to read it. Aneka jati sangsarang sandhavisang anibhisang gahakarakang gave santo dukkha jati papunang gahakaraka dittosi punagehang nakahasi sabbate pasuka bhagga gahakutang visankitang visankara gatang chittang tahanang kayang ajaga. So you guys maybe never heard the Pali, but most of you have probably heard the English. Through many a birth I wandered in samsara, seeking but not finding the builder of this house. Sorrowful it is to be born again and again. Oh, house builder, or when Keanu Reeves is the Buddha, oh, architect, thou art seen. Thou shalt build no house again. All thy rafters are broken. Thy ridgepole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Achieved is the end of craving. Now, Bhante G here has a little parentheses. This is traditionally, the builder of this house is craving. The house itself is the body. The rafters are passion, and the ridgepole is ignorance. So craving, once passion and ignorance have been destroyed, craving can no longer build you another body. All right. So we'll do one more. We'll do Karaniya Metta Sutta. How about that? So this way Gabriella and Reed can chant along if you want. Okay. Karaniya Metta Kusulena Yantang Santang Padang Abhisamecha Sako Ujucha Sujucha Suvachucha Sumudu Anatimani Santusakocha Subharocha Apakitchocha Sallohukavuti Santindriocha Nipakocha Appagabbo Kulesu Ananugido Nachakudang samachare kinchi yena vinyu pareyu pavadeyung sukino va kemeno hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukitata ye kechi panna bhutati tasava tavarava anavasesa dighava ye mahantava majjhima rasika nukatula Dittava yeva ditta ye chadore vasante avidore Buttava sambhave siva sabbe satta bhavantu sukitata Naparo parang nikubetta nyatimanyetta katachinang kanchi Vyarosana patigasanya nanyamanyassa dukkamichaya Matta yata niyang putang ayusa ekaputang anurakke evang pisabba bhutesu manasang bhaveya parimanang mettang cha sabba lokasming manasang bhaveya parimanang udang adocha tiriyancha asambhadang averang asapatang Titang charang nisinova sayanova yavatassa vigitamiddo etang sating aditteya brahmametang viharang idhamahu titincha nupagamma silava dasanena sampano kamesu vinegedang nahi jatu gambasayang punaretiti. That's enough chanting for me for tonight. I can already feel my throat is I'm getting a little coarse, but we'll read it in the English. One skilled and good, wishing to attain that state of peace, should act thus. One should be able, straight, and upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. So this is the part of the Karaniya Metta Sutta that's often kind of omitted, right? And a lot of people will chant what's coming up next. But sometimes this is omitted. Even at Bhavana, when we chant the English, this is omitted. This is 16 ways of trying to practice well that one should do, wishing to attain awakening, right? Wishing to practice metta. So there's straight, upright, straight in your your sila straight, and your morality straight, upright, right? Obedient, gentle, and humble. One should be content, easy to support, with few duties, easy to support. That's why I always say monks are a cheap date. Right? It shouldn't cost too much to keep up a monk. They should be able to accept whatever food. I mean, obviously medical issues aside, whatever there is, we should be able to practice being content with them, easy to support, with few duties. This is a problem for many of us monks. This is right. Few duties. The more duties you have, like I did, like the last couple of years of bhavana, too many duties, way too many duties. So my metta was hurt. My metta fell. My right, my practice fell. All kinds of stuff because I had too many duties. Living lightly, controlled in senses, discreet, not impudent, unattached to families. So this one is interesting. Unattached to families. Some people think that this means that your own family, and I guess it can mean that. But really, what this means is the Buddha encourages monastics not to be attached to the people who support you. Right? You don't, just because a family supports you a lot, you shouldn't get attached to them, right? And that's hard to do because you feel like when people help you out and support you, you really feel like you feel good about it and you want to help them out and do all these kind of things, and you can get attached to them. So you're not supposed to. Yeah. That's what unattached to families. One should not do any slight wrong which the wise might censure. Right. This is an important thing as well that they see. The Buddha talks about, even in the Kalama Sutta, right? The Kesaputtiya Sutta, the Buddha talks about, don't just go by what the teacher says or what reports say or this or that, but go by what you experience, is this good or bad, but right, because we can't trust our own perceptions 100%, we have to trust but verify, right? we don't know. So having somebody, a Kalyanamitta, who's a wise person, right, to be able to run it by them, right, then they can at least give you some feedback. Well, I think you're probably wrong in this case. Right? So this is why, which the wise might censure, right? If you know wise, good people, you take their opinions into consideration. May all beings be happy and secure. Now, here's where we know, this is where we get into what most people know. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long or large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Right? This is very important. This is when I do my guided meditations. Actually, I wasn't planning on chanting Karaniya Metta, but I was planning on doing guided Metta for our guided meditation during this Dhammapalooza. So this worked out perfect, right? So this is important that Metta is limitless goodwill, right? Limitless. Appamana. It means there's no boundaries. No boundaries, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, right? Without exception. Right? We don't make any exceptions. So it's very easy for our minds when we do our metta. May all these beings be well happy, except for that person. That person. May all beings be well happy, except for that person, right? Our minds will be like that. But that's okay. That's because our minds are not masters of metta yet. We train our minds to be so. Right? No limits for metta. Appamana, no limits, limitless. Mahagada, exalted. That is what our metta should be. Adriana, I swear my neighbor has been extra noisy during my metta practice. Your neighbor is giving you an opportunity to practice metta, an opportunity to practice, patient endurance. Okay? Mohammed. Yeah. Well, the problem is, okay, Mohammed Jallo says, I've never found it hard to send metta for literally everyone. Is that unusual? The problem is myself. The problem is you're part of everyone. Buddha's very clear, right? Like anytime Buddha's talking about the benefit, there's always this three-pronged thing. It's the benefit of yourself, benefit of others, and the benefit of both. Right? And I swear I have to find, I'm sure I put it in my compendium, but I remember maybe about 6-7 months ago coming across that sutta where the Buddha literally says you don't sacrifice yourself for others. Like you don't like, you don't push yourself aside, your own practice, your own healthcare, your own this, your own that for others, right? It's always about both. For yourself, for others, and for both, right? So that's very important. Of course, having metta, this is what it is. People will find that it's like, well, it's like, I don't need to take care of myself. I don't need to, I like others more than I like myself, or I want to take care of others more than myself, right? So that's kind of what that can be is a neglecting of your duties to yourself. That's what it is, right? You're avoiding taking care of yourself, or you're avoiding looking, meditating and looking what's inside, and maybe the self-hatred and the self-criticism and all that stuff. You're avoiding that because it's much easier to put your efforts on somebody else, right? That's why you see a lot of relationships where that happens, and those usually don't end well, right? So that's an important thing, that you have to make sure that you take care of yourself, and you always include yourself in any kind of metta. All of us, that's the term I use. You see when I do the guided meditation, all of us includes you. So, all right, so where was I here? Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. Now, this is another line that is important, actually. It's kind of, this is where knowledge of Pali and context and all kinds of stuff, and also knowledge of the suttas makes a big difference, because you will see that this line is actually greatly misinterpreted. And you have three giants that tell you that it's misinterpreted: Bhante G, Ajahn Jeff, Thanissaro Bhikkhu, and Bhante Analayo. Right? They all agree on what this line means. Right? So, as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. This doesn't mean that you're supposed to, treat all beings like your child, or like you should protect all beings like a mother protects her child. That's not what this means. What this means is, right, even this translation, I don't know, but you get the context. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. So really what this means is that, like, you got to think about your metta in your mind like a little baby, and you're holding the baby close, like, okay, mind with metta, we got to nurture the baby, right? You don't want to, you want to nurture your mind, and you want to protect your mind of metta. And then when somebody comes up and yells at you, and all of a sudden your mind is like, whoa, and you just dropped your baby of metta. Your metta fell on the ground, and your anger and ill will comes out, right? So you want to protect your metta like a mother would protect their only child, right? Like, people who have children, the first child, there's like, worried about dust and everything. They're freaking out because they want to make sure that their child is. But by the third one, it's like, they'll be okay. So that's what that means. It means that you protect your metta, your mind of metta. You protect your mind of metta like a mother would protect their only child. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around. Udhang adho chatiryancha. Right? Unobstructed, without hatred or resentment. Whether standing, walking, or sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here. Brahmang viharang. Brahma, the highest gods, the highest heavenly realms. Vihara means to dwell, to live in. So the Buddha is saying when you have a mind of metta, it's like a mind that's in heaven, right? And you can see that mind, if you meditate and you start to really examine what a heavy, angry mind is, it's like a real hellish, heavy, horrible mind state. It's much nicer, much lighter to have a mind of metta. Not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. So that's Karaniya Metta Sutta. All right. So we're done with chanting. What time we got here? Oh boy, we're 43 minutes in already. I guess we kind of got started a little bit later. But these 2 hours actually flies by. So let's we'll do Salayatana for the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll do our guided meditation after that. How about that? So I want to find a sutta real quick, or maybe actually, you know what? We have sutta hunters here. All right, sutta hunters, find me the sutta called the All, Sabba Sutta, and post the link for me. I don't remember where exactly it is. I know it's called Sabba Sutta, the All. Because if we're going into, I don't need these glasses. No matter how scholarly or whatever, somebody said I'm scholarly or something. No matter how scholarly I am, I don't need them because I'm not reading. So there you go. All right. Oh, look, Reno Bino remembers the exact sutta number. Samyutta Nikaya 3523. All right. So, yeah, post the link here for me. So, the All. What does the Buddha call the All? Well, you're going to find out. It's our topic. Salayatana, the 6 sense bases. So, the world, Sabba, Loka, the world. The Buddha calls the 6 senses the All, the world. Why is that? Because we cannot experience anything outside of these 6 senses, right? We are trapped in this body. We have these senses. Now, if we were a bat, we could have like echolocation, all kinds of different creatures have different cool senses. But in this body, human body, we have these 6 senses, right? And so the Buddha says, this is the All, right? This is the world, is our 6 senses. And so this is kind of where this is our field. This is our ground of study, our ground of practice in the Dhamma is these 6 senses, right? This concept of the 6 sense bases is very important. You saw it in dependent origination, right? You also see it in Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, under Dhamma Nupassana. This is principles, right? Right along there with 5 aggregates, 5 hindrances, 4 noble truths, 6 sense bases, right? So this is a very important concept, very important principle of Dhamma, of our own experience, right? Because these are the senses that we have. So we have our eyes. We see objects. Ears hear sounds. Nose smell odors. Tongue tastes. Taste, right? And body tangibles. And the sixth sense, which in ancient Greece and ancient India is not being able to hear ghosts. The sixth sense is the mind. That is the sixth sense, is the mind. So we have six senses according to the Buddha. And these six senses is how we have any kind of interaction, right, with the outside world, with others. Right? We have salayatana pachaya. What? Passa. Contact. Once we have the six sense basis, we can contact the world. We can go. You give up on the Sabba Sutta, Greeno? I don't know what's going on, but anyway, so I mean, I wanted to read the Buddha's. It's always better to read the Buddha's word directly. I mean, if you don't have it at hand, you can give a summary, but it's always better to read the Buddha's word directly. So anyway, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, salayatana. So when we have an eye, we have forms, right? So our eyes contact. I see the webcam right there, and I have my little portable clock right there, and I see things in my room, right? And I see myself on this laptop thing, right? So my eye is making contact with these things. Boom, right? My nose, I don't really smell anything particular. I have some tea here, some ginger tea. I can smell ginger tea. I can also taste it. All right. I can hear. I have the window open, so my ear can hear the cars outside or the crickets or whatever's going outside, right? And so I can feel my body. I feel the robe on my body. I feel my one leg is actually kind of falling asleep after about an hour sitting in this position, right? I can feel my buttocks on the cushion and all these kind of things, right? So I can feel. And then the mind. What does the mind have contact with? Mind objects, thoughts and impulses and visions and all this stuff that comes to the mind. So what is it? Sorry, is it the problem that we can't copy paste it? Let me. Access to Insight has it. There you go. I got it. Let me copy paste here. It's possible that the streamer is the only one that can post links. I guess. I don't know. I definitely didn't see an option otherwise. I just turn on the link, turn on the chat. So let's see here. It's YouTube. They don't allow links in live chat box. So I guess the problem is that only I can do the link. It's making me work. It's okay. So Sabba Sutta, let's read. Monks, I will teach you the all. Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. As you say, Lord, the monks responded. The Blessed One said, what is the all? Simply this eye and forms, ear and sounds, nose and aromas, tongue and flavors, body and tactile sensations, intellect, mind, and ideas. This, monks, is the all. Anyone who would say, repudiating this all, I will describe another, if questioned on what exactly might be the grounds for his statement, would be unable to explain, and furthermore would be put to grief, because it lies beyond range. Right? So that is the all. There's nothing you can, it is beyond our range, right? We are in this body. Like I said, if we were bats, we could have echolocation, and dolphins and things. We could, do all these different senses, but these are our senses as human beings, right? And these are what we have to work with. So now, actually, one thing that, because I haven't read that sutta in ages, but one thing that was interesting is because the all also included the external sense bases. So there's two. There's internal sense bases and external, right? So the internal sense bases is literally eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. That's internal. External sense base would be the forms, taste, touch, the odor, the sound, right? So the thing that you're making contact with. So it's not only it's the internal and the external sense bases. That's an interesting thing that I didn't remember, because it's been a long time since I read that sutta. Actually, that is a good idea. If that not everybody and their mother can post links. All right. So this is a very good practice, right? Whatever we're doing, we can make contact with something in our senses, right? Like I remember a practice that I used to do in my early days of Bhavana. I call it universe in a cup. And so this would be like in the winter, I would sit down in the Sangha hall and I'd have my hot chocolate. And I would just it would just be a practice of observing my senses, right? So like I said, I would, in the chair, I just observe. I could feel my buttocks on the cushion, right? I could smell the hot chocolate. And I would actually kind of swirl it, and you'd I call it universe in the cup, because it's like a little galaxy, right, of the swirl. So I just observe that. I just watch. So it's just essentially doing a practice of being aware of your senses, right? And of course, when you're aware of your senses, that's the input, right? So the senses are the tool, right? The senses are the tool that bring in stuff, right? So if you think about you guys, many of you have heard me talk about, have you talked about Kamoga, right? Kamoga is the flood of sensual pleasures. There's sensual pleasures all around us, everywhere. We're totally immersed in them like a flood, and we like them, and we want more, and we like them so much, and we want to keep experiencing them so much that when this body dies, well, we need to find another sack of senses, right? So that we can use those senses to reach out and contact with pleasurable experiences, right? So that's what we do, right? We reach out and we make contact, right? And because we have these senses, the senses, when we have an experience, it's pleasurable and we like it, right? So now the mind is coming in, and the craving and all that stuff, right? So we can observe our senses as the raw data is coming in. And then it's not over yet, because what happens, right? What happens when there's contact? Passa, paccaya. Huh? Passa, am I good for everybody? Any problems? Passa, paccaya, tanha. Oh, no. Wait. Yeah. Pasa pachaya vedana. Yes. Sorry. So, and then we have feeling, right? Pleasant or painful. But then after vedana pachaya, tanha, craving, right? So when we have contact, we have we have a feeling, a mental or physical feeling, pleasant or unpleasant, and then we decide that we like it or we don't like it. That's where tanha comes in. Our craving, our thirst, a thirst to chase after pleasant things and run away from unpleasant things. That's what we're doing. Chasing after and running away. We're simultaneously chasing and running at the same time because of our tanha, right? So let me just look at that. We've having some internet issues here, so we're just checking out. Yeah, mine froze for maybe about 5 or 6 seconds, but then it caught up and it came back. I don't know if I lost anybody typing in the chat at that time or it just came up. I have no idea. However, I'm going fine here. I don't know about anybody else. All right. So this is part of our practice. This is part of Satipatthana, right? This is part of understanding. We have a pleasant sight, right? The Buddha talks about, especially for monastics, but for everybody to practice, the gradual practice. Part of the gradual practice, the third or fourth aspect of it is restraint, right? So when we're walking and there's so many things. Oh, that, oh, this, oh, this, oh, that, oh, that, oh, that, oh, and our mind is going like this, right? So our mind, we're unrestrained, right? And you can see what that does actually to your mind, right? It's kind of like agitation in the mind. Ooh, going all there. Do this, right? So you can see that your mind becomes very agitated. Not like, even if it's a pleasant agitation means like it would be a nice, cool, calm, pond. But then it's like this, agitated, all kinds of thoughts and likes and dislikes and everything that's happening, right? So we can observe that. We can see, okay, this is what this does to my mind. Is this for my benefit or for my harm? Does it help me? Or does it give me more suffering, right? And so the more you can see that, the more restrained in your senses, the less impingement on your senses, actually, the more peaceful it is. That's why when you go to a meditation retreat, all right, there's much less things impinging. Maybe for the first couple of days, you're still kind of you're going through withdrawals of all the kamoga all around you, that you're running around going here and there. You're going through withdrawals when you're at a meditation retreat, and then after a couple of days, things start to calm down. The pool starts to become very calm and serene, right? And then when you're done with the meditation retreat, you're driving home. You're like, I'm going to stop and get this food. I'm going to, check the phone and what was the news, what's going on in the news, and what did this politician do, and what did my friends do, and all these, and then all of a sudden, whoop, it all comes back. All of the contact, all of that impingement comes back, and then the mind becomes the monkey mind again. All right, so this is this. And so any kind of, like you can see, you have pains, right? Some of you have, kind of chronic things wrong with them. So you have pains and sufferings of the body, right? That's an impingement. That's the feeling. We have tanha. We have craving regarding it. We don't want to have anything to do with it, right? So this is our playground. The six senses are essentially our toolbox, not our toolbox. The six senses are essentially our playground for practicing Dhamma, our playground for understanding the reality of how things are, right? Now, the Buddha, should be very clear that the Buddha doesn't really ever talk too much about the external world in the suttas, right? What is his definition? What's the all? What's the world? The senses, our experience, right, is the all. Buddha very rarely talks about. The only time the Buddha talks about the external is like when he's making a comparison. Like one of my favorite suttas, the darkness, right, where the Buddha says, "Bhikkhus, there is this intercosmic void of darkness where neither sun nor moon nor any light shines." And I remember thinking to myself, is he talking about like a black hole or something? Like, even if it's just the, in between solar systems or whatever, right? So you think, oh, this is really cool. The Buddha's talking about like some, objective thing in the universe. But he says, and the bhikkhus are like, oh, this is amazing, Bhante. This is wonderful, right? But the Buddha says, but there is a place, there is something even darker. And they're like, Bhante, what is it? What could be even darker than this intercosmic void? And the Buddha says, greed, hatred, and delusion in the mind, right? So the Buddha goes out, oh, look at all these wonderful things. But you know what? There's something even worse. There's something even darker in your own mind, in your own senses, right? In your own experience, right? So that's what the Buddha is always pointing to, your own experience, right? And you can't get much more close to own experience than the six senses, right? This is your mind in your body and all of its glory, understanding how your mind and body works, understanding what times. Oh, we went past 8, but that's okay. We'll do our guided meditation soon. Understanding how other people's minds and bodies works, right? And understanding all kinds of, starting to understand the nature of reality and health and the nature of living in this world, right? The Buddha says, what is ignorance, right? Not understanding the Four Noble Truths, right? We don't experientially understand the Four Noble Truths. So we don't understand the all. We don't understand the world. We're delusional and ignorant, right? We can't trust our perceptions. We can't trust anything because we don't see things rightly. So starting to investigate this mind and this body, these senses, right? And how all of this interacts and how it all interacts with the external as well. Then we are developing insight. We're developing wisdom. We're developing vipassana, right? Vipassana, to see deeply, to see things as they are, to see through to see through our delusion, our ignorance, all of these things, to see through these things, right? So that is, I guess, what I have to say about Salayatana. I'm going to just check the chat, see if there's any questions or comments or requests for clarification. And then we can do some guided meditation. How about that? Jose, actually, that's an interesting thing. But some beings have powers like extrasensorial stuff, according to some Buddhist stories, right? I would say that those the siddhis, the psychic powers, actually are within the realm of the mind. So I wouldn't say that they're kind of extrasensory. Now, so the mind is the sixth sense, and that's part of the mind, right? Greeno, Beano, what is a good way to observe feeling? Sit there, right? Just whenever whether, if you're sitting on the cushion or you're just sitting at home or driving in the car or whatever, you could pay attention. Sometimes you might have to kind of prompt yourself, right? This is like why I tell people, if you're not connecting with the feeling or whatever the most prominent thing that usually a prominent feeling arises, whether it's a pain or an itch or whatever. But if that doesn't happen, you can say, you can prompt yourself by saying, like, what do I see? What do I feel? And that usually is like kind of the prompt for your mind to say, oh, you feel this, right? Like your leg is falling asleep and there's some pains in your ankles and all these kind of things, right? So you and then you can observe that, right? Like, look, I kind of just adjusted myself, and right, because my mind is trying to avoid pain, right? That's the way it is. It's like, okay, well, there's pain, time to adjust, right? So you can see that no matter what you're doing, you can bring your awareness to the body, to the feeling, pleasant, painful, or neutral feeling, right? If you have to prompt yourself, that's fine. But usually that was mostly my practice for the first 7 years of my meditation, was sitting there, and whatever most prominently came up, I would investigate it. So it was, some feeling in my body or a strong thought or emotion in my mind or something like that. So that's what I would say, observing feeling. Adriana, Bante, I've really started noticing that being at home with family, it's crazy to see how my mind uses the senses to just build on the irritation or agitation. Yeah, you can also see how your mind uses the senses to escape, right? You know, watching TV or playing video games or distracting yourself or something like that. I can't escape my I can't leave the house because of the quarantine. So I got to escape my family some way or another. So your mind not only builds the irritation and the agitation, but also the escape. It wants to, what can I do to kind of escape this irritation and this agitation? Like the tone a family member uses or the way they close the door. Well, see, this is the thing about those things, right? The tone a family member uses. It's not the best thing to kind of automatically automatically assign an intention to that tone, because you don't really know. I mean, sometimes it's more obvious than others, but it's very easy to kind of take it personal and be defensive based on tonal input, right? So this is where practicing meditation, practicing mindfulness is important, right? Because if you practice mindfulness, then your mind is like, well, maybe let's not be too hasty. Maybe this, maybe that. It might not be, my initial impression might not be 100% accurate, or even if it is, how do I more skillfully react or how skillfully act in that situation, right? Instead of automatically taking it as their tone against me and they go slam the door and all these things, right? All right. So I think we are good to do our guided meditation, huh? Since we got about 40 minutes left, I think this is a good thing. We can do the guided meditation, and then at the end we can do sharing of merits and end it. Unless we're really excited and we really want to go longer, we can go longer. But I think we'll probably just end it at the 2-hour mark. All right. Okay, friends. So set your body up in a comfortable and stable position, as my webcam has trouble focusing as I'm moving around, setting myself up. Take some time. You can scan through your body slowly from the tips of your toes up to the top of your head. As you scan through your body, each body part, like the feet and the ankles, the thighs, the chest, etc. Tune into whatever feeling you can, right? Check both the balance of your body and also to see if there's any small discomforts or pains. Like something small now can be something much more painful and larger later. So now is the time to adjust our posture. Whenever you're done adjusting your posture, let your body go and take 3 deep breaths. Once you've taken your breaths, let the breath go. From here on in, you do not want to try to control or manipulate the breath in any way. You simply want to observe and investigate the breath. Like a scientist investigates something under a microscope. If you feel most prominently the air moving in and out of the nostrils, you can put your awareness there on that feeling. You feel most prominently the rise and fall of the chest, you can put your awareness there. Or you can abide with a simple awareness that this body is breathing in and breathing out. It doesn't need you to do its job. It's been breathing in since the moment you were born, and will continue to do so until the second it dies. Just observe the breath. Continue to follow the breath as I give these instructions on Metta. Metta practice is traditionally done with words and or visuals. The words and visuals are just a means to an end. The purpose of developing Metta is to develop a mind free of ill will and warm-hearted feelings of friendship and goodwill for all beings. Like the feeling you get being around the table with the people who you are closest to in life. Warm-hearted, safe, comfortable, and expanding that table out to include all beings in existence. I will be providing words for repetition and visuals if you would like to use them. We begin our metta with the person that we most often have the most hatred or anger towards, the most agitation, the most judgment and criticism. That person is ourselves. We cannot hope to spread our metta, our goodwill out to include all beings if we don't have it ourselves. Repeat these words slowly after me. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. When we say these words, they are not meant to be a mantra, something that we just repeat over and over. Whenever we say words of metta, we want to try to do them with a warm-hearted hope and wish that they be true. And when you do it for yourself, you want to try and do it just the same as you would for your best friend. It might be very easy to have metta for your best friend, but not so for yourself. Repeat these words. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. If you would like a visual, you can visualize an image of yourself in front of you, like looking in the mirror, and focusing your goodwill towards that image that is you. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. Imagine a sphere around you, and within that sphere, within that circle, is your metta, permeating that sphere of metta with goodwill and friendship. Fill and permeate that sphere. And now begin to expand that sphere to encompass the entirety of whatever building you currently are in. In this building, there are maybe humans, bugs, small animals, maybe even unseen beings. We don't know. So we don't want to limit our metta. Permeate and pervade the building you're in with your goodwill to all beings in that building. May all of us in this building, repeat after, find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Remember, as we go and make our sphere ever larger, that you are in the center of that sphere. You are part of all beings. All of us. Spread your sphere out to encompass the entirety of your town, whatever town or village you may be in. May all of us in this town or village find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere to encompass the entirety of your state or province or region. Encompassing all beings, many millions of beings in that state or region. May all of us in this state or province find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere to encompass the entirety of this country, whatever country you may be in. May all of us in this country find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. When we practice metta, sex doesn't matter, race, political affiliation, economic status, sports team, whatever ways we categorize ourselves. Metta breaks through barriers. We never hold back our metta, but we freely give it to all beings. Invite all beings to the table. Spread your sphere to encompass the entirety of this earth. Pale blue dot in a sea of darkness. May all of us trillions of beings on this planet Earth, big and small, human, animal, insect, sea creatures, visible or invisible, whatever beings there may be, ones that we know of and ones that we don't. All of us on this planet Earth find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. We are not done yet, friends. Continue to spread your sphere of metta to encompass the entirety of this Milky Way galaxy, our home galaxy, with billions of planets. Whatever life there may be in our home galaxy. May all of us in the Milky Way find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere of metta out to include all beings in the universe. Whatever beings there may be, in billions of galaxies and trillions of planets. May all of us find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. And one more time, let us continue to spread our sphere of metta out past the universe to wherever beings may exist anywhere. Dimensions, multiverse, whatever beings may exist anywhere in existence. May all of us in existence, anywhere, find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. And you're ready, slowly start to come back to Earth, the universe, galaxy, solar system, Earth, country, state, town, building, right back to you sitting. And when you're ready, you can slowly start to open your eyes. If you feel blissed out after this meditation, that's good. If not, that's also okay. Metta is a practice, a training just like any other. It's something the Buddha says to make metta your vehicle, right? To practice, to master metta. It's not necessarily something that comes easy. It's a practice. There's a wonderful poem that I quite enjoy, that I think totally encapsulates metta. Many of you have probably heard me talk about this poem many times before, but it's called Outwitted by Edward Markham. It goes like this. They drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took them in. That's metta. Right? Doesn't matter other people, if they like you or they take you out of your circle or they keep you in the circle, whatever. Right? You draw a circle, a sphere for all beings. Right? You include all beings in your circle. That's metta. It doesn't matter if they like you, you like them, or anything like that. It's that you hold in your mind goodwill. You never wish any other being harm or ill will or malevolence towards them or anything like that. You practice developing in such a way so that you have this mind and you cradle it and take care of it and nourish it like a mother nourishes their only child. Okay, this is kind of funny. I was just looking at the chat and I clicked on the buttons and it says, put user in timeout. All right, children, better behave in that chat or else you'll go into timeout. Adriana, I must say, I love that imagery of the beginning of sitting at the table with loved ones, then extending that table. Adriana, actually, that comes pretty much everything of what I teach actually comes from my own practice. And what I noticed when I had the real strong, like blissful feelings of metta, what I noticed was that they were very similar to the feelings I had when I was young, being around, sitting at the table with my extended family, the big Italian family and things like that. And it's just such a warm, wonderful, comfortable, safe, beautiful feeling, right? And so I noticed, like, when I was rocking on my metta, that's what I felt. So to me, it feels like when you're around the table with the people you are most trusting and most closest and loving of in the world. So that's why I kind of introduced that. Obviously, it wouldn't work for everybody, but it's kind of giving an example, right? Because maybe different people, their feeling of metta, brings up a different imagery. No, Demi, it's not. I wasn't doing metta at a young age. I'm saying that when I examined, like when I was doing metta and I had the really blissful feelings of metta, really blissing out for all beings, I examined that feeling, right? Because remember, you got to examine that feeling is impermanent, right? So you still investigate that feeling, you investigate. And when I was investigating that feeling, what popped up in my mind was that this feeling is very similar to that feeling I had as a youth, being around family and these get-togethers and things like that. So that's the connection that was made in my mind regarding what that feeling is like. But like I said, other people will, whatever their metta feeling, the bliss metta feeling that they get, they might connect it with something different. But the imagery of kind of being around the table, at least used to be, kind of universal. Now maybe not. But so it'll work for some people and not work for others. Katrina, but wasn't that energy your metta? You mean my energy as a young child? I don't know. Young children have pretty good metta usually to begin with. I mean, the children are born, like you can see it in babies. They do have kind of danger detectors pretty early, but in general, they're pretty metta, But the root is still there. The root of greed, hatred, and delusion is there. They just haven't built their character up enough yet. Their likes and their dislikes. But that root is still there. You can still see it. You have children, you can see it. Greeno. Bino. As metta builds within the mind, for me, there's a sort of encompassing that swallows it as the session continues, like a black hole of metta. That's cool. A black hole of metta. I like that. Sucking in all of the goodwill. But then also black holes expel as well, right? They have that expelling of matter. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left, but I think this is probably a good natural ending. Not too much not too many urgent questions or anything in the chat. So green. Yes, it sucks the metta in and blows the ill will out. That works. That's kind of like if you're around somebody, if you ever had the experience of being around somebody who just totally exudes metta. I have that, and it's like you walk into this sphere of safety and comfort and non-judgmental, like that you just know that they wouldn't judge you or anything like that. So it is kind of like you're being sucked into the black hole of metta, right? And it's hard to get out. It's hard to want to get out. All right. Adriana Bonte, when we practice metta, can we connect it with observation of the breath? For some reason, this seems to happen to me. In what way exactly do you mean, like observation of the breath? Like, explain to me what is happening, or clarify that question for me so I can respond. No, the Dhammapalooza is not going to 4 a.m. Maybe if I lived in a place like with 4 or 5 other monks and we could tag team, be like, okay, tag team, you're next. And then another monk comes and sits down. But when it's just me, no, it's not happening. It reminds me of the old, they don't have those on TV anymore, but what do they used to call them? Like telethons? Like they would start at 5 o'clock at night, and then they would go to like 10 a.m. the next morning or something like that. The Buddhist telethon, up all night. I pair it with the breath. May I be in breath, out breath well. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, metta is pretty open. It's pretty. The Buddha doesn't give really exacting, really exacting technical methodology of how to do it. It gives pretty much some basics. And so like the words that I gave you guys, the words that I gave you that I did in this guided meditation are not the words that I learned, right? Those are the words I learned. Was like, may all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. But I didn't like it. It felt too short, and it was too easy to become a mantra. So I developed, just for my own practice, what I gave you guys. And interestingly enough, I only realized this years later when I became a monk and I was teaching and I was doing the guided meditations. I realized that those 4 things that I give actually cover all of the Brahma Viharas. May all of us find happiness, mudita, appreciative joy. May all of us find peace, equanimity. May all of us live in friendship with all beings, metta. May all of us find release from suffering, karuna, compassion. Right? So when you can actually do a full Brahma Vihara practice with those 4. right? And again, I have been practicing that for years before it clicked on me. Is like I stumbled blindly across a full Brahma Vihara practice in one thing. So you can do that. So like for me, most of my metta practice is actually visual. Like I tell the story all the time of being in the metta retreat with Bhante Sila, and he's chanting, "May all beings be well, happy and peaceful," and I'm getting agitated, right? Most of my metta is actually not words. I actually um, at least for a good, maybe last 6, 7, 8 years, my metta is mostly visual. Like what I'll do is like I can just be sitting on a bus, I can be walking, and I can just imagine whoosh, my sphere just expands out into the universe, right? So you can, metta in many ways is kind of you can develop it in your own personal way, right? Your own wording, your own visuals, whatever you want to do. Again, those are all a means to an end. Those aren't the actual purpose of the practice. The actual purpose of the practice is a mind free of ill will and feeling warm-hearted feelings of friendship for all beings. That's the actual purpose of the practice. Adriana, it's funny, Bante, but ever since I heard your phrases, they are almost always the ones I use. They have always felt the most impactful for me. Yeah, and I've had people say, "Yeah, it's kind of too long, too wordy." So each person is it's individual, right? Maybe the people who are too long, too wordy, maybe they like "May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful." That works as long as it doesn't become a mantra. That's the important thing. It's not supposed to be fast words. It's supposed to be developing, you know, the lack of ill will in your mind and warm-hearted feelings of goodwill. A rainbow sphere spreading out. You see, that's another thing you can do, Katrina. Thanks for pointing out. My sphere is actually like this deep, dark royal purple because this dark royal purple and black are my two favorite colors. So you could actually see like I would actually have suits like in my professional days where I had black and purple, like a purple, dark purple shirt, black pants, all this. So those are my favorites. So my sphere is this royal purple sphere that just goes out, right? So you can do that. You can customize it. It's up to you guys. Well, feeling is not necessarily the feeling of the metta is not necessarily um, required, right? Sometimes you don't have a metta feeling. If you don't have a feeling, like a strong feeling of metta, you just observe your mind, right? Or I always we always have this thing of pointing to our brain when we say mind, right? But anyway, you observe your mind and you see, is there ill will in there or is there not, right? That's the main purpose. The main purpose is ill will in your own mind. When we say may all beings live in friendship with each other, we know we don't expect that everybody's going to hold hands and throughout the globe. Like you ever see those images like with like people are holding hands around the globe. No, we're gonna all hold hands and we're all gonna sing kumbaya and have metta for all beings. That's not reality. we're trying to understand and see reality as Buddhist practitioners. That's not reality. But what it's supposed to be for is our own mind, right? So that we hold our metta, right? And we open our sphere for all beings. Whether they do that or anything, that's not up to us. We have no control over that. Yeah, Greeno Beano. Metta, the custom skin pack sold separately. So that's like, I could see like monks being like, Okay, if you for $100, I can give you your custom skin pack. Yeah. Uh, for those that's a gamer reference, by the way. So people who are like, a skin pack, what does that mean? Is it Katrina? So what is the difference between chanting and a mantra? Um, Not much. Both chanting and doing a mantra can essentially have very little impact, very little meaning behind it. It could just be the words, right? But both chanting and the mantra can also, um, have a lot of impact and a lot of meaning. So it's really what when I say it's not a mantra, I mean it's like it's not something supposed to be said like fast over and over and over and over and over. Oh, mani padme, oh, mani padme, oh, mani padme, like these kind of things. It's supposed to be, may all of us put some real effort, real, impact behind it, not just saying the words over and over again. Well, Katrina, I think it's a smart way for calming the brain down from concentration. Actually, Metta is a method of calming down the brain for concentration. It is a samatha practice as well. So you can actually get into jhanas, deep states of concentration by practicing Metta. That's even though Metta, I'm pretty good at Metta, and it's been something that has become a vehicle for me. That's not something that I've been able to do. So I don't have personal experience of that, but I know of, a bunch of different monastics and people who talk about that, that they use Metta as their vehicle for getting into deep jhanas. All right, friends, it is 9:00 over here, 5:00 somewhere. I think it's time we can end for the night. Thank you all for coming to this Dhammapalooza. Actually, let's do the sharing of merits. That's one thing that I forgot to do since we're at the end. We'll do sharing of merits. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And so just for you guys, like I said, at least the front half of this is a direct Pali that we at Bhavana chant pretty much every day. It's dukkha patta chani dukkha. May the suffering ones be suffering free. Bhaya patta chanibhaya. May those with fear be fearless. Right? Soka patta chanisoka. May the grieving ones shed all grief. Sabbepanna upadava. It means may all beings. So too may all beings. Right? So this is a very good, beautiful 4 lines of metta. Right? 4 lines of goodwill that you can reflect on and memorize, and you can use that. That's in the Bhavana Vandana at the end of Wish, right? That's the last thing that we chant. Okay, friends, until next time. Sukhi Hotu means may you be happy, practice well, and be well.